So today, actually, for my first YouTube video ever, I am doing a speed draw. I actually really love watching these. I love seeing the behind the scenes process. A lot of the people that I watch on YouTube are the artists and the creators. This is a good bulk of their content, so I just kind of wanted to have a go at it myself. It's actually inspired by Beyonce's Cowboy Carter. That album is honestly kind of what reinvigorated my passion for art. I was dabbling here and there, and then I started drawing more and more, and I just kept drawing more and more Beyonce as a cowgirl, and it just kept turning into, I have like a sticker pack, and I have 2 prints now, and it's just turned into its whole thing. And I had a really good idea of the pose I wanted. Sometimes if I don't understand the pose yet, I'll spend a lot more time sketching, and I will do like 4 or 5 drafts of a sketch before I really get into the line art. But this one I kind of knew exactly what the pose was before I got into it, so doesn't necessarily make it easier, but it was less time consuming, I guess. So here we have me going and finalizing the line art. I had to get all these cute little details. It was really important for me for the outfit to be kind of a mix between a kind of classic Western, Old West, Wild Wild West kind of let me say West one more time, kind of cowboy look, and then mix it with kind of like a more show pony kind of rodeo style cowboy, which is, if you've ever been to a rodeo, those cowboys are performers. They are putting on a show, and I think that's a good kind of like fit for Beyonce, you know, the showgirl supreme. I really wanted to bring in a bunch of like fringe and these really crazy cowboy details that are really prevalent in kind of this like rhinestone cowboy look. Actually, living in Nashville, I've modeled for a designer here, a very famous designer in like country western wear. He pioneered kind of the rhinestone cowboy look, like Johnny Cash, Elvis, and all these like huge names, and he was definitely on my mood board for this. His name's Manuel. All these little like flourishes and details and that you see on cowboy boots and stuff. I really wanted to incorporate that in the chaps, and I wanted to put some hair bows in the hair to give it some sort of like femininity and kind of like renegade nature. As we get into coloring, the coloring for this was very important for me because I was going to start out with the chaps being like denim, and then the outfit being like either yellow or black, like the jumpsuit. And I changed my mind because I thought that a subtle like Americana vibe was really important, because I think it's really prevalent in the music, and I think it's a really important part of the message. The album kind of unearths a lot of those ungiven flowers, you know, that from especially like black country music. That's actually where it originated. And I have a really good friend, her name's Alice Randall, and she just wrote a book called My Black Country, and you should definitely pick it up and read it because it gives you such an insight to, it's a autobiography, but her life aligns so well with the trajectory of so much good music. It's a history lesson in like the real roots of country music. Much like Cowboy Carter, Cowboy Carter is literally a museum of music, and I think that's why it's so important. And I think that's what inspired this piece the most, is that I kind of wanted to create kind of a poster for a Saturday morning cartoon that should have been out when I was a child and I should have seen it. I kind of wanted it to be kind of like a retribution. Switching gears, that's kind of like what inspires my artistry in the first place, is like Saturday morning cartoons, and I kind of feel like that's where like a lot of my sensibilities were formed, were like with like Winx Club and Totally Spies and anything kind of girly and kind of like Femme Fatale, like Kim Possible, Witch. I don't know if you guys remember Witch, but that was my shit. And I think that's where a lot of my eye for my own personal art comes from. I actually really love cel shading so much. I need to be better about actually keeping the harsh blacks in. I think it's really important for that kind of like really cool kind of comic book look that I love so much, but a lot of times I just take the transparency down because I don't know, I'm a creature of habit, I guess. I wanted to really create this kind of like bang moment. It's probably a little more subtle than I would have liked, but I'm still very happy with it. So I wanted to take the line work out just to kind of make it pop on its own and kind of make it seem like, I feel like it kind of gives it some motion and some sort of momentum. And here we have the reveal. So tell me what you guys think down in the comments. Would you change the colors? Do you think the Americana vibe is really important? And what would a Saturday morning Cowboy Carter cartoon be called? That's a tongue twister. Cowboy Carter cartoon. So for my next speed draw, I'm actually going to draw a mini art print that is going to come for free on the back of my new thank you cards. So my brand is called Dream Fever, and it's kind of like living in a state of hyper reality fantasy and as a means to escape reality, I guess. Because that's kind of why I started doing art again, and that's ultimately why I started a shop for sure. Is I wanted to like create these intentional pockets of joy in my life with stickers and prints and t-shirts and all this fun stuff. And what's more fun than a space cowgirl? Like, what's more hyper real or fantastical, or what girl doesn't want to be these things, you know? And that's kind of the inspiration behind a lot of my artwork is fantasies. So for this one, I wanted a really dynamic pose. It took me this one, like I mentioned before, this one took a little bit longer for me to get the idea of the pose down. I wanted it to be really feminine and kind of prissy and just unapologetically girl, you know? So as you can see, it did take me a lot longer to get the grip of this pose down. And for the first time in my artwork, this is the first piece I actually played with line weight. A lot of the artists that I've been watching on YouTube and just content creators in general talk about the importance of line weight and creating details and like what pushes what forward and the depth it will give your art. So, and I definitely see the difference here is like, because you see all my tiny details I did in like a much smaller weight than I did in like the border, and I wanted to create kind of like a pronounced I think it really helps define the shape too, right? Once again, we go on with these little cowgirl details, which are kind of, you find like all over cowboy boots and like western wear and all this like really cool like carved leather. but I wanted to do it in a kind of way where it looks like it's like maybe carved into like the side of a lava lamp. I love the juxtaposition of like cowgirls and like disco space. I think when I pan back out, I see kind of the line weight actually adds so much. So I went back around and I went around the whole border with a thicker weight to kind of make it just kind of like pop. Getting into the colors, it was harder for me to... This one was just kind of throwing stuff until I saw what was sticking. I realized I didn't necessarily want it to be as dark in the outfit. I kind of wanted it to be really femme and really girly, and then it kind of became, the colors kind of came around to being more pastel and soft and low-key kind of like a hidden like trans agenda, which I just kind of rode with. I think it was really I think it came together really good with the colors. I wanted the lasso to kind of glow, you know, almost like she created it out of like the galaxy. So I gave it this really bright yellow glow, and I added some sparkles down the line. This is another trick I learned, is to change the like some of the internal lines to like a darker version of the color that it's surrounding, and I think that also really brought out a lot of the depth and a lot of, it just made it more interesting. And I'm always trying to find new ways that's like within my style to make my art more interesting. And even here, like I'm using purple to shade because it's like a complementary color to yellow, where I just like the way it looks as yellow shadow, because a lot of this piece is yellow or blonde, I guess. So for the first time I used like an actual color to shade, and I'm kind of obsessed with the way it came out. I'm not sure that it necessarily would work as like a harsh shadow, but with the transparency turned down, it just made it look so cool. And with the different colored line art and things, I'm really happy with how this came out. So here you see me making the lasso kind of galaxy space girl, giving her some glitter and some glitz, you know, all the things that us girls love. The proportions on the body kind of were really hard for me because it was such a interesting, almost kind of inhuman pose to hold, you know, like you had to be literally in space with no gravity to do this pose properly. So understanding like the tilt back of her head and like the flick of her wrist and the dainty nature of her hand holding this lasso is like kind of all unrealistic, and that's intentional because I wanted her to feel like she didn't have no problems, you know? That's kind of the whole like idea of my world, is it's kind of just fun. And I adjust some things here, and I was really much more happy with the proportion. Here I'm working on the background, and the background was throwing me for a while, honestly. I tried messing with the eyes, the angle on the face just was not looking right to me, and then ultimately I just went with this like Powerpuff Girl vibe. Trans rights, of course. The face was still bothering me, so I just went in with a smile. Because duh. And here is the reveal. So, what do you guys think? How are you guys finding little pockets of joy in your everyday life? I need all the tips I can get. It's really important right now. Thanks for watching.